Before we go ahead to work on this week's topic and task, I wanted to take a few minutes to look at a few questions I got last week and just basically explain what I expected and possibly explain why you got the grade you got for those who didn't get up to 100%. Okay, before I go into that, what I have right here is called a PyCharm. PyCharm is just a code editor, just like VS Code, but it is specifically made for Python. I'm showing you this because it seems a lot of people thought VS Code is the only thing you can use. That is incorrect. You can use any editor you like. We've used IDO, we've used VS Code, and now I'm going to be using PyCharm. Like I've already said in one of our classes, each of these editors have the advantages and disadvantages. So you can use any one you like and then try your hands on several of them to see which you are most comfortable with. So I'll be highlighting a few things about PyCharm that makes it really unique. Number one thing is, once you download and install it, to do that, just do a Google search for the name PyCharm. So once you install it, it has everything you need to write Python already installed, already configured. You don't have to specifically install plugins or extensions like we did for VS Code. Okay, so another thing about it is, I said it has everything you need to write Python. It also adds things like you see on the line here, telling me there is something wrong here. It's not really an error. If it was an error, it would be red. So we get this, I think that should be yellow or yellowish, or I think. So that tells you there is something to refactor here. It's not really an error. It's just like a suggestion to make your code look better. And then we get the green, which is typo or typographic error. And then the red, of course, the red is actual error that needs to be fixed, a syntax error or any type of error. So to fix errors in PyCharm, it's also quite easy. You can click on it like I just did here. It will pop this up. Then it says reformat file. And then what happens is it fixes the entire file of this type of error. Like it reformats the file so that this error or this issue that was here before would not be in that file again. So I only needed to fix it in one place, and every other part of my file is fixed. Again, we can do the same thing here. Of course, we don't need to really fix, we just need to correct the error here. So this is just generate user account number. That's all that is. So if we move further, you will see it says have account. There is an underline there. That means there is something you can note there. So it says variable in function should be lowercase, which is fine. So like I said, it's not really an error. It's just something that will make your code look better, neater, or more readable, or something that is more accepted as a convention. So rather than writing just however you like, you can use PyCharm to get an idea of how your code should be formatted. And also, somebody asked me this question, like, what do you use to format your code in Python? Most people that do programming understand what that means. It means when you write, there's something called prettify. So it sort of prettifies your code, helps you to reformat it and make it look better and more readable. So PyCharm actually does that for you, makes it easy for you to format your code, even though some of them are manually done by you, but it will still inform you where you are supposed to fix and what you are supposed to do to fix those things. For example, in Python, you don't necessarily need to have bracket here. So it's telling me this bracket is redundant. You are wasting space by adding bracket there. So I'll take out all those brackets. I mean bracket for if statement now or some other things. So this needs to be fixed because it has uppercase in it. We've already been told somewhere here that I should not have uppercase. So we just use the this case in. So that's number from and then user. So another thing we can do is, once I corrected this first instance, I can click here and then rename every usage of this particular variable in my entire file, and you can see it automatically just changes that for me. I can do the same thing here, account number, and then I can change every other usage in this file. I'll go down. Actually, let's present this so it's easy for everyone to see. This is another thing that PyCharm has, presentation mode. So I can delete all that, the parentheses that we don't really need, the bracket that we don't really need. This should be lowercase, So let's change this also to lowercase user details. Then I'll change every instance of user details in my file so that it now has lowercase. So let's keep moving down and see if there's anything else that needs to be fixed. This is still the same. Account number should be, so you can see that it's like PyCharm is smart. It's PyCharm is Python smart. So I'm going to have to manually do this. Okay, so again it's saying this should be lowercase, I believe. Yes, it should be lowercase. So we can decide to ignore this error, or we can decide to fix it, because really it's not a deal breaker. It's not going to break your work. It's just something good for you to do. So we can rename this element. So I prefer to do this, and then it will ask me if I want to replace it everywhere that is being used. So let's do that, so it's faster. Update usage to reflect signature change, and I'll just do that, and it has replaced that in all of my file. Let's do the same thing here, option, and then replace it everywhere. So that is fixed. Again, we don't need this, so let's just ask it to fix everything like that in our code. Okay, I wanted it to fix everything like this in my entire file. Yeah, fix all. Yes, this is better. Right, so that should fix all of that, and then we can move on to whatever is next. We need to change this to lowercase operation. Change this to lowercase operation. So I'm using underscore because if you, I mean this is hard to read for me, so I'd rather do this. I think this is better. Okay, let's change this to account number, and then change every instance it was used in the code. Update usage to reflect signature, and I'll take this out because really it's not really useful, and this should be all that we needed to fix. Oh, we need to fix this because yeah, we fixed it earlier. So we changed the name earlier, so let's just do the same here, and then I'll save that file, and everything should be good now. Yeah, so that's something, I mean, PyCharm allows us to do. Now, another thing I noticed during the week is the way we formatted our code. So I know I said that it doesn't really matter where you import your external components, it's still going to work. But really, it's a convention that you import at the very top of your page. Anything you need to import should be imported at the top. Okay, so that's about that. I'm going to run this code one time to create a sample user, so I can have a sample user here. So let's run the code. I'll open my terminal. So I have to leave presentation mode. I'll still come back there, but I need to leave presentation mode to be able to run the code. So I'll leave that and then run the code in my terminal. Let's make this a little bigger. So Python auth dot I wanted to type .js, so .py. No, I do not have an account. My email address is seyi@.team. My first name is Seyi. My last name is Onifade. My password is password. And then my account number has been created. So let's just add this to my database. So I'm going to add this here. I need to format it properly. I'm sure that's why we have that underline there. So add this here and add my list, add my first name, add my last name. Okay, and then add my email address, and finally add my password. Alright, so we have that in place. I will delete this also, and then I will just terminate this and run it again. Yes, I have an account. My account number is this, and my password is password. Right, so that works, which is good. That's what we wanted. So let's clear this and then go back to our presentation mode so I can start working on some improvements or giving some corrections on what I have seen in the past couple of days. So I think the problem here would be quotes, possibly. Okay, let's check it. What is the problem? Oh, it's okay. So that's a typo. I should have noted that. So space afterwards, and this is considering this a typo. I can ignore it, or I can just do something about it, but it doesn't really matter right now. That's just my name, so it's not an English name, so obviously. So one of the things I requested for in the task is that you work with balance, so you are able to display people's balance. You are able to add to their balance when they deposit. You are able to remove from their balance when they withdraw. I saw a lot of people doing something like balance to be equal to this. I mean, this will work because of course we are not keeping record right now. We are not keeping record. There is no consistent database record. So if you do this, it's going to work for that particular exercise. And I think you will have noticed that you probably didn't get a full score, because even though it works, it's not the best way to solve that problem. The best way to have solved it is, one of the best ways is to have a list, because we've been working with lists and dictionaries and so on. So is to have a list that contains balance for each of your users. So if you have 4 users, you should have a list that has 4 balance, even if one of them is going to be just 0. So this way you can always get the balance that belongs to each person and work based on that. But for this particular case now, because we've already started using dictionary, this is for the first assignment that I gave. So now that we've started using dictionary, we can easily just have your balance somewhere in here, and of course that's not going to be a string. So I also noticed that a lot of people use string for their balance. That's not a good idea, because you'll be doing calculation with that balance, and as you know, you can't do calculations on string except to concatenate, which is just to add 2 strings together. So let's say this person has this balance in his account, so which means when they withdraw, which means actually I can create a function and say this function should just get this user's balance. So def get current balance. You could have said account balance, but that's not really important. And then it's going to take the user object, which is user details, and I'm going to just return user details, which is the last item in this particular thing here. So that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 4th indexed. So where is it? I'm going to say 4 here. Let's create some space and one more space here. Yeah. So if I want to get the current balance of a user, I just do this and get the person's balance. So this is what I expected. When they try to withdraw, you check their current balance. So if they want to withdraw, you get okay, this is Python, get current balance, and then check if current balance is not more than, is more than, is actually more than, is more than, okay, let's just be technical, it's greater than, yeah, right? Withdraw balance, that's the amount they want to withdraw. So that means you are supposed to collect the amount they want to withdraw, get amount to withdraw. Then after doing this check, you can then deduct withdrawn amount from current balance, and then finally display current balance. So this is what I was expecting to be done. Many people did it, but many people didn't do it either, so I felt the need to highlight why you might have gotten a low score or why you didn't get the full score. Again, I also noticed that many people submitted the code just the way I did mine. One of the reasons why I added that to the assignment, that you should do some improvement as you see fit, was I wanted people to get creative with the code And I even noticed some people didn't even bother to do the deposit function. They just basically submitted what I have, just printed out a comment here. That might have been why you got a lower score than you should have gotten, because I expected that you should have done everything. I mean, no matter how easy it seems, I was hoping you'll have done it. So again, I also noticed that some people decided to write a function to generate current balance. So rather than what I have here, they did, oh, then there is going to be a little issue here. Sorry, I just noticed this. Once they register, they are supposed to get a current balance. So let's go ahead and update our registration form, sorry, our registration thing here, and then make their current balance 0. So immediately they register, they get a current balance, which is going to be 0. So until they deposit, they don't get any amounts in their account. So that's for that. I just remember that now. So I was saying that I noticed many people did I mean, maybe not many people, but I noticed some people decided to write a function to generate current balance, if I can type. So I saw something like I can't remember what the name of the function was, but generate current balance. So I saw something like this, and then it was just basically returning this. So I mean, this works, but it's not a good idea. I think it's 4 digits I saw, or 5, either 4 or 5, I'm not entirely sure. So this will work, but it's not really a good idea, and that's because it's you know, we are trying to mimic a real banking scenario, and you don't really you are not going to have a generate balance in a normal banking system. So you can't just randomly generate balance for people. I mean, this worked, and I graded it as though you are correct. I probably left comment for some people, but this is not a good idea because of what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to create like a banking system. You would never have a generate account balance. You can have a get account balance. You can even have a set current balance, but you will never have a generate account balance because nobody wants to. So I don't know, we'll just okay, so we can collect user details for this. I didn't even plan on doing this particular thing, but I guess no problem in doing it. So we can collect and then just set to balance. So I need to have balance here. This function is just going to be used for setting the user balance, space there and then space here. Alright, so we can have this, but you can never have this in a banking system. So that's a bad idea, and which is why you probably got graded a little deduction from your grade. So just like we have for withdraw, you can do similar thing for deposit. Get the amount they want to get, their current balance, okay, get the amount they want to deposit, but this would change to deposit, of course. We don't need this, we need to do this too. So that is add deposited amount to current balance, and then we display current balance. So this is what I expected. If you didn't do this, it's also fine, but I guess now we are still learning. And I also noticed that some people tried to this really made sense to me. They tried to do what a normal ATM machine would do. So after you perform an operation, it should ask you if you want to perform another operation. So what I did was I just went ahead to assume that they were going to be performing another operation, which is after deposit. So I really didn't even do it. So after deposit, what a lot of people did was to ask if they want to perform another operation, and then display the banking operations that are available again once they say yes. So I think that's a very good idea, and if you didn't do that, you can also try to do it, so that after they perform one operation, say they withdrew, they should get a printed message on their screen saying, do you want to do something else? And if they say yes, they get directed to this bank operations again. If they say no, they get exited from the system and say take your card or something like that. So I just wanted to do a walkthrough of PyCharm and a walkthrough of the assignment and a few of the questions I've gotten over the week.